The energy around the Los Angeles Lakers feels completely different right now because the long wait for LeBron James to return is finally reaching its turning point. Every fan is wondering the same thing. Does he step back on the court in the matchup against the Utah Jazz, or does that return happen in the following meeting? Nobody inside the team wants to guarantee anything yet, but the way players are talking, the way practices have shifted, the way the staff moves around with a different level of urgency, everything points to his comeback being close. You can sense it when the warm-ups start, when the locker room gets louder, when guys who have been sidelined for what felt like forever suddenly appear listed as available or under evaluation. For the first time in a long time, it feels like the Lakers might actually take the floor with their full roster, something that has become a rare luxury. The season so far has been a roller coaster of injuries. Every time one player returned, another one went out, and that constant imbalance interrupted the rhythm of the team again and again. Even with all that chaos, the group managed to fight through it, stealing wins, surviving rough stretches, and keeping itself competitive. But surviving is not the same as understanding a team's true potential. Playing with patched-up lineups makes it impossible to discover the ceiling of this roster. Now that a handful of key players are expected back at the same time, the chance to finally see the real version of this group is near. It feels almost like opening a long-awaited package, knowing that what is inside might be exactly the missing piece that allows everything to fit together the way it was originally planned. When a roster gets healthy, it naturally brings the moment every coaching staff waits for, the evaluation phase. That is when you can test different combinations, watch which players thrive next to the stars, see who responds well in bigger minutes, and observe who struggles once the competition stiffens. Injuries will always happen during a long season. No team escapes that, but there is a huge difference between losing someone for a few games and losing a guy for several weeks. If the Lakers can keep their core available more consistently, the staff can finally settle rotations, define roles, and understand who truly fits the long-term plan. And of course, all of this leads to the ongoing conversation about who starts and who comes off the bench. Looking at the current roster, many believe the simplest adjustment is moving Rui Hachimura to the second unit, allowing him to lead that group with scoring and physicality. He said before that he does not care much about starting as long as he plays important minutes and is on the court when the game is on the line. That kind of mindset makes experimentation much easier because it prevents unnecessary tension inside the locker room. When a player values meaningful moments over presentation, the whole roster becomes more flexible. The interesting part is that this team has more functional combinations than people realize. Several players stepped up while others were injured, proving they deserve consideration. They battle hard for minutes, help the team stay afloat, and now present the coaching staff with a puzzle. How do you avoid pushing these contributors completely out of the rotation? Depth is good, but managing depth across an 82-game season can be complicated. There will be nights in which someone does not play at all, nights when someone enters for only a few minutes, and nights when an unexpected player becomes the key to a win. The priority is keeping everyone mentally engaged, connected, and ready. When discussing the starting five, most fans already picture Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart, LeBron James, and DeAndre Ayton taking the floor together. That lineup checks several important boxes: scoring, playmaking, rebounding, defensive versatility, and experience. LeBron, in particular, changes everything. He can initiate offense, finish at the rim, take advantage of mismatches, serve as a facilitator while Luka controls the pace, and still offer valuable defense when he is fresh. On top of that, he spent considerable time improving his catch-and-shoot game, something that makes him even more dangerous when sharing the floor with a high-usage creator like Luka. The topic that keeps sparking debate is Austin Reeves and whether he should come off the bench to lead the second unit. The argument makes sense when you consider his ability to control the offense, attack mismatches, and create plays when he has more space. But despite the logic behind that idea, the practical reality is he is not going to the bench. He is having a strong season, playing consistently well, and moving him to the second unit in a year this important for his future would make little sense. There are also contractual factors, expectations, and the simple fact that he has earned his role. So even though the basketball theory behind the suggestion is interesting, the realistic outcome is that he stays in the starting lineup. With that core group established, the next challenge is balancing offense and defense. You want enough defensive strength to prevent games from getting out of control early, especially on nights when the shots are not falling. If the offense takes time to find rhythm, the defense keeps the team alive. At the same time, you need enough scoring threats to take advantage of nights when the stars are in attack mode. And of course, you need energy and consistency from the bench to avoid steep drops in performance whenever the starters sit. Players like Jake LaRavia, Jared Vanderbilt, Rue Hakamura, Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, and others are all fighting for regular minutes, and each game will demand something different. Depth becomes a luxury, but it also creates constant decision-making for the staff, who must read what the game requires at every moment. All of these moving parts, the returning players, the potential lineups, the restructured rotations, revolve around the anticipation of seeing a fully healthy Lakers team step onto the court. It is something that has not happened often, something that could completely reshape the trajectory of the season. And now that the moment feels right around the corner, the excitement only grows, because we're finally reaching the point where we can discover what this team truly looks like when every key piece is in place and ready to compete. With everyone preparing to return, the biggest challenge becomes finding the right rhythm without disrupting the chemistry that was built during the stretch of injuries. When players are out, the rotation naturally shrinks, roles become clearer, and guys know exactly what is expected of them. As soon as the roster gets healthy, everything shifts again. Star players take back their minutes. Bench pieces return to smaller roles, and certain matchups that once favored the second unit simply do not appear anymore. This adjustment phase can feel messy at first, but it is a necessary step toward building a lineup that can compete deep into the season. The coaching staff has to manage egos, expectations, and performance, all while keeping the group unified enough to handle the upcoming challenges. What makes this moment so fascinating is that several players who were not expected to carry heavy responsibility earlier in the season showed they could contribute in meaningful ways. Someone like Jake LaRavia proved he can defend multiple positions and stretch the floor when he finds rhythm. Jared Vanderbilt, even coming back from injury, provides the kind of hustle, rebounding, and defensive activity that changes the pace of a game with pure effort. Jackson Hayes, with his energy and verticality, brings an entirely different type of presence near the rim. These are the kinds of pieces that give the Lakers flexibility to adjust to different styles of opponents, whether they need more size, more speed, more defense, or more spacing. Gabe Vincent's situation adds another layer to the conversation. When he is hitting shots and playing with confidence, he becomes a valuable connector who stabilizes the offense and applies on-ball pressure defensively. But when his shot goes cold, the coaching staff has to decide whether it is better to rely on his experience or to lean on younger, more athletic players who provide different strengths. The decision is rarely simple, because every game tells a different story. Some nights call for a steady veteran presence, and other nights require injecting energy through fresh legs, length, and aggressiveness. These micro-adjustments are what define a well-managed rotation throughout an entire season. There's also the question of what to do with the players who might naturally fall out of the rotation. Bronny James, for example, had moments where he impressed with his defensive pressure and his willingness to take on tough assignments. He showed a maturity in understanding his role, even without producing significant offense. But as the roster gets healthier, his minutes will naturally decrease. That is not a failure. It is the reality of a young player on a deep team. He still has room to grow, time to develop, and opportunities ahead, but right now, the competition for minutes is simply too high. Dalton Connect finds himself in a similar place. Despite receiving decent playing time earlier in the season, he struggled to find consistency on both ends of the floor. There were flashes of shooting, flashes of activity, but not enough to demand a secure spot once the roster is fully operational. And then there is the wild card factor. The possibility of experimenting with double big lineups or bigger wings at the four to adjust to certain opponents. Someone like Maxi Kleber fits right into that discussion. His ability to space the floor while still providing size opens up interesting strategic options. He had stretches recently where he looked sharp, followed by moments where everything seemed off. Even so, his combination of shooting and size is unusual enough that the staff may look for pockets of the game where he can be effective. The idea is not to overload his minutes, but to find the right situations where his skill set can tilt a matchup in the Lakers' favor. The good news is that the coaching staff has shown patience when experimenting with rotations. They understand that some lineups will not work immediately, and sometimes you need a larger sample size to see the true impact of a group. It is easy for fans to react to a bad shift or a slow start, but rotations are built over time. Mistakes are part of the process. What matters most is identifying the combinations that consistently elevate the team rather than relying only on short-term results. And with the full roster returning, the sample size finally has a chance to be meaningful. The other important component is the balance between structure and freedom. A team with stars like Luka Doncic and LeBron James cannot be coached with rigid, inflexible schemes. They need room to read defenses, adjust on the fly, and orchestrate the game based on what they see. The role players around them, however, need clarity. They need to know when to cut, when to spot up, when to set screens, and how to space the floor properly. Those details matter because they allow the stars to operate at their highest level without constantly recalibrating the offense. That is why the returning players must align quickly with the rhythm the team established during the period of injuries. The group cannot afford to lose the flow it developed, especially against teams that punish even the smallest mistakes. Defense remains the backbone of everything. The Lakers need a level of defensive intensity that does not fluctuate wildly from game to game. With a healthy roster, there is no excuse for giving up stretches of sloppy defense or losing focus in transition. Players like Vanderbilt, Smart, and Ayton set the tone with physicality, communication, and effort. When they are locked in, the rest of the team follows. And when the defense is stable, it gives the offense time to warm up without falling into early deficits. This was a problem in certain losses earlier in the year when the team lacked the defensive strength to stay competitive during cold spells. Having the full cast available should significantly reduce those issues. Offensively, the return of LeBron changes everything. His ability to push the pace, post up, draw double teams, and manipulate defenses give the Lakers options they simply did not have during his absence. Luka benefits from it because he no longer has to carry the full burden of creation from the opening minutes, and the two stars can alternate responsibilities without overworking either one. Shooters get more open looks, cutters find better angles, and the pick-and-roll game instantly becomes more dynamic. It is the kind of shift that can elevate the entire roster, not just the starting unit. With all these factors converging, the next few weeks will reveal what this team truly is. The excitement is justified because for the first time in what feels like forever, the Lakers are on the verge of stepping onto the court with every major contributor healthy and ready to go. The rotation will evolve, roles will shift, and some players will rise while others sit. But this is the moment that shapes the rest of the season. This is when the identity of the team finally begins to take form, guided by star power, depth, and a coaching staff prepared to explore every possible combination on the floor. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, the sports world is buzzing after Stephen A. Smith reportedly made some rather pointed remarks about the Los Angeles Lakers, sparking a wave of speculation and chatter among fans and insiders alike. Known for his unfiltered takes and penchant for stirring controversy, Smith's latest comments have left Lakers supporters both defensive and intrigued, wondering what exactly might be brewing behind the scenes in Hollywood. Sources close to the situation suggest that the ESPN commentator's criticisms were less about individual players and more about the broader state of the franchise, its management, team chemistry, and perceived lack of urgency to dominate in a league that waits for no one. Social media erupted almost immediately after snippets of Smith's commentary circulated online, with hashtags related to the Lakers trending in multiple countries. Analysts, bloggers, and armchair commentators jumped on the bandwagon, debating whether Smith's remarks were an overreaction or a candid reflection of what some insiders have quietly observed. While no official response has come from the team, murmurs suggest that front office executives and coaching staff have been taking note, quietly evaluating whether the criticism holds any weight. Meanwhile, some former Lakers stars reportedly weighed in off the record, expressing a mix of amusement and agreement, hinting that the franchise has historically been susceptible to public scrutiny, especially during periods of transition. The rumor mill doesn't stop there. Sources claim that Smith comments might have deeper implications, possibly influencing trade chatter and locker room morale. NBA insiders have long suggested that the Lakers' locker room can be a pressure cooker, with personalities and egos sometimes clashing under the bright lights of Los Angeles. Could Smith's blunt assessment accelerate internal changes? Or is this simply another episode of media theatrics amplifying the inevitable highs and lows of a storied franchise? Only time will tell, but for now, fans are left dissecting every word, every inflection, and every possible hidden meaning, eager to see whether the Lakers can shake off the shadow of criticism or if this marks the start of a more turbulent chapter in their ongoing saga. Whatever the outcome, one thing is certain. Stephen A. Smith has once again reminded the basketball world that when he speaks, even whispers can become deafening roars. And for the Lakers, the rumor mill is spinning faster than ever. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.